stars like diamonds in your eyes.
Whoa. What is happening to me?
Marvel knew they had something good in the Winter Soldier, but it quickly became evident that they didn't really know what to do with him. He had his own short-lived series by the creator of Winter Soldier himself, Ed Brubaker, but it didn't last long at all once a different writer came on board. Fast forward a few years, and we got Jason Aaron's event Original Sin, which served to kill off Uatu the Watcher, as well as the original Nick Fury, and it gave the Winter Soldier a new role, the Man on the Wall, a position the original Nick Fury had held in secret for some time. But what is the Man on the Wall? Well, a one-man unit who operates in the shadows to protect the Earth from threats interstellar, intergalactic, and even multiversal. Nick Fury had a list of problems that must be dealt with, even down to when they would be the biggest threat and when they would be the most vulnerable. And the easiest solution? Assassination. So Bucky goes from being a very grounded character to this strange, planet-hopping, interstellar space assassin. In a story that pays homage to classic pulp science fiction, we are treated to psychedelic visuals, strange aliens with even stranger and often even comical names, and a story that feels about as far from Ed Brubaker's Captain America run as you could possibly get while still utilizing the same character. Teaming up with Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. Yes, the same character is seen in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for very obvious cross-promotional purposes. The Winter Soldier sets out to do his job to the best of his ability, and he has plenty of practice when it comes to killing. Now, the inclusion of Daisy Johnson here feels somewhat random, and though she features heavily in the story, I often felt she didn't do enough to warrant her presence. This really felt like little more than Marvel's attempt at synergy, with their desire to have the same character on TV and in the comics at the same time. Nevertheless, she gives Bucky someone to talk to, allowing for characterization that we wouldn't properly get if he was alone the entire time, so I can't entirely fault the inclusion. And it's not to say that she doesn't serve any purpose, as she does have a significant role in the story, she just feels more like a supporting character rather than a co-lead. And I have to say, this book is a trip in every sense of the word. As you've already been able to see if you've been looking at the screen at all, the visual style is very different from typical comic fare. Delving into psychedelic imagery that is less concerned with displaying a coherent visual narrative than it is with gripping you by the eyes and pulling you into the strange worlds it has to offer. How the book feels is almost more important than the visual storytelling. Stylistically, it is gorgeous. Structurally, it's a bit of a gamble. Because on the one hand, if you appreciate the unique approach, it is incredibly effective and could stand on its own feet as an art book if stripped of text and narrative structure. But if this style doesn't jive with you, both in the visuals and the writing style, it can be hard to follow and even more difficult to enjoy. This is a book that certainly won't be for everyone, and I don't blame you if you don't like it. Personally, I love it. Then again, there is a sharp contrast when we see a shift in artist for portions that explore the multiverse. These portions are starkly different, almost creating a completely different book. Now this is clearly intentional, but the contrast is almost too much. Some of the art is eye-catching and kinetic, but some of the characters just look wonky. Still, it's a nice delineation, particularly with the potentially confusing art from the rest of the book, wherein we get a very clear demarcation indicating which portion we are viewing. Without this distinction, it could be significantly more confusing, so even though it is a stark contrast, it serves its purpose well. I have greatly appreciated some of Aleshkott's other, more independent work, be it The Wild Children, or Zero, or some of his other work, where the stories went off the rails and delved into philosophical and sociological and psychological explorations, often at the expense of the narrative. And his work on Winter Soldier follows a similar pattern, though it does seem to have a stronger editorial hand at play, keeping the writer reined in enough that the story is fairly cohesive and coherent. And the opening chapter is a bit all over the place, starting with Bucky imprisoned by aliens for his murderous thoughts, ironically being slated for capital punishment as a result. Quake rescues him with an interstellar sniper assassination of the alien's leader. And from there, we are introduced to a white hole emerging from within a black hole. A little armadillo pig-like creature. An alien queen of a planet called Merzibo. A run-in with Namor the Submariner. An intergalactic drug called Ilum. An additional old man Bucky. And the introduction of Loki. It's a lot, and it feels all over the place, but eventually all comes together in the end. And this is a story that involves a lot of telepathy, alternate versions of familiar characters from elsewhere in the multiverse, including the aforementioned Old Man Bucky, and a version of Crossbones with a twist, heavy use of Ilum, lies, manipulation, murder, and romance. It's a difficult story to predict, and with the art, it can even be difficult to follow. It almost requires a couple read-throughs in order to process everything. And in fact, upon rereads, you'll notice things that you missed the first time. And things that were seemingly confusing at the beginning make a lot more sense if you've already read the story once before. Such as Loki. Now, Loki's presence within the book is a bit of an enigma at first. He appears in the second issue and then disappears, but this is Loki we're talking about here. Do we really think he'll show up, manipulate events for a moment, and then just vanish completely? It initially read like a strange cameo, but this story is very tightly woven. If someone or something is highlighted with any real amount of focus, it serves a purpose and it leads somewhere. Loki here proves to be every bit the master manipulator he has always been. Though not the focus of the story, this is a strong presentation of Loki's character. Now, as a whole, the book is a very tricky one. I couldn't recommend it to everyone by any means, and I don't think it's a book for the casual comic reader. In fact, I wouldn't even recommend this book to most readers. I would only suggest Leschkott's Winter Soldier series to a select few, those who appreciate more trippy reads like this and are ready to be taken for a strange, wild ride. And for those people, like myself, I think there is a lot to enjoy here. For everyone else, you're probably better off looking elsewhere for your Winter Soldier fix. Be sure to help me out by hitting like and subscribe. Leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. And until next time, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.